Righto, there we go. Hello everyone, my name's Jared Bernard and welcome to Robin's Hood. Today I decided I wanted to elaborate a little bit on yesterday's video because some good points got brought up. Some good questions got asked, and was it, my lighting looks funny. Hang on, I want to change that right now. I'm not happy with that. I want to, just a little bit. It's a pinch better. I still feel like I look like a big blob, but whatever. That happens. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to elaborate a little bit on yesterday's video and how there are times when I statements don't work, and how what is it? This isn't a thing that is just guaranteed, right? Like I don't know that in behavioral science really there are any guarantees. Like there's a few things that base in chemical and base in what do you call it? I guess neuroscience and like body science. But when you get to actual like the breakdowns of behavior, we have to work into approximate. So like the average amount of people will respond this way, and average amount of people will respond this way. And when people don't respond a certain way, these are usually some of the conditions you're running into. So I wanted to address, one, what are some of the conditions you're running into commonly, and what can you do when you're doing a really good job of not accusing this other person of, being responsible for how you feel, and they're not empathizing with what you said, and they're still, like sticking to their point, right? And there's going to be times when, this is a really hard concept to grasp, where, the way we feel, it'll always matter to us. Like it's always going to matter to us, but it just sometimes isn't going to matter to someone else. And that's, I think, when we're dealing with like things that are just more personal, like disagreements and like smaller stuff, that's going to be way wider and easier to understand, or way more acceptable. And I think it's a place where it's the most applicable. When you get into things like more, which is I think things that were being talked about a little more, which is like sexism, racism, discrimination. What is it? There was a couple other ones, but you know, I think you're getting into what I'm talking about. Those things, let me see if I can even bring it back. They're a different topic, right? If you're discussing, they reach more towards abuse and there's another one. Abuse and oppression. And these are things that I think I also didn't touch enough on, the threat of violence, which was one of those other ones that if someone is using either their physical capacity or their language to put the threat of violence on someone, or even the concept of violence, like that's implied violence, that's another one where the way you feel it's more universally understood. And when we get to a universal understanding and impact, that's when I think we really have to take note, and it's society needs to take action. So when we're talking about things like racism and stuff like that, if someone is trying to tell you that you're blaming them for the way you feel, one of the things to do is to backtrack and ask them what you said that allowed them or got them to that understanding, because your goal is to not have that understanding, right? Be like, I'm trying not to blame you for how I feel. I'm not trying to do that. I believe that I'm responsible for how I feel, and I think I understand how I feel, and I think I'm right about how I feel. And that's when you're saying that means that now when you approach this person, if they say at all you're blaming them for the way you feel, I think that it's just no longer going to apply, right? Like you now have to go to a new development of understanding. And this is a thing that it really gets lost in online conversations, but is possibly just one of the most important parts of conversation at all. And that's just paraphrasing. If you understand that understanding begins with listening and developing an understanding of the other person's perspective before your own, then it's both a power and a responsibility. And I'm not going to say at any point this is someone's job, right? Like if you've dealt with depression, if you've dealt with abuse, if you've dealt with a situation that talking about it can have you relive it in any way, it's not your job to communicate to people that they for them to understand. The thing that happens is, if without some people that have gone through these experiences, understanding is going to be harder, especially for people who don't feel like they're doing something, right? Like they don't think they're doing anything to be abusive, or they don't think they're doing anything to be oppressive. They don't understand systemic oppression. And they like, I've definitely had conversations where I didn't understand what I was saying, and how what I was saying was what do you call it, supporting both a white narrative and a whiteness, or even, I guess you could even say a maleness, because there's definitely like the many accounts in my younger years, and even I'm sure there's some today. Like I ignorance is a thing that you never get to declare yourself away from, right? You're always present to your own ignorance, even though except for the fact that you don't know what it is. Anyway, so if you have the understanding, though, that to get to a place of understanding, you need to listen for how somebody else talks, and then when you're listening to the way someone speaks, listen for the way they describe the world, because the way they describe the world and the things they see is a direct reference of their experience. So after you get to the point of, I know that for me to be able to get this person to understand me, I need to express an understanding of them, you have to paraphrase. And this is just it. You paraphrase until you hear yes. And that's the goal. You keep going and paraphrasing and re-illustrating what you've heard from this other person in order to get to a place where they say yes. Because once they say yes, then you now get to say, okay, I understand your point. Right? And once you understand someone else's point, you're usually, or not always, but you can commonly deconstruct your argument and present it to them in a language they understand. And that's the next level. This is harder stuff, and this is stuff that like triggers make it really hard to get through, because we will re-experience emotions in relationship to past events. And this is where, when I think I may have talked about, was it feelings both matter and don't. And they radically matter to the individual and to our healing. Like for us to develop and grow as a person, they're extremely important. They're often not extremely applicable to the reality of a situation. There are times when what's going on means that you have to get past how you feel right now and act. We have to do something. And I'm not saying that, we should be discrediting or discounting people's feelings, because that's absolutely not. Especially when we have the time to explore it, right? If we have the time to explore someone's feeling, then I think that's really what these, maybe feeling might be the wrong word, but it definitely impact. The things like the Me Too movement has definitely has a huge, like, how has this impacted society? Clearly the female community of the world, and and definitely many men of the world. And so like racism is gonna be the same thing. And like it's so much more beyond emotional. I don't know, this one's getting onto a bit of a rant, but one of the big things is, it's just paraphrasing. If you're saying I statements and telling someone how you feel, then it's not resonating, like they're just not getting it. It doesn't connect. Then stop trying to explain your perspective. You have to let go of where you're coming from to be able to obtain where they're coming from. Because one of the things that happens is, now this person's not feeling heard. And if you don't feel like you can feel safe enough in that conversation, or comfortable enough in that conversation to get to hear that person, I can't make you stay there. I don't think it's a good idea for you to stay there. I think there's this overarching thing that we all have the right to walk away from a conversation at any time, for whatever reason, without explanation. You have that right. There are repercussions, as there are repercussions for all things, but you do have that. And if you're willing to deal with the repercussions of whatever occurs there, then you got to take care of yourself, right? That's the overall thing. And that's something I think that's a big part of this whole conversation, is that this is a language process that's for someone who has felt an impact, right? This is a way for someone to deal with something that's happened to them, not to justify an action. And so if you're ever hearing someone saying, like, I'm just telling you my truth, then be like, that's fine. Like, okay, so this is, then paraphrase, like, okay, so you're telling me your truth is this, right? Don't make it wrong that they've said that, right? They can come to that conclusion if through deconstructing their point, you get there, right? Like, it's and deconstructing someone's point to make it so that you can use your words to understand what they're saying prevents them from escaping what they've said. And this is it's always going to be a challenge, because we will not always know when we're being accusatory. It can be something simple as saying, you did this. No. I'm not going to, but, like, just the word but can do so much. And so this takes training. This takes a lot of time to really, really get good at. And I just want to bring this to your awareness, right? If you can, at the very least, start paraphrasing in all your conversations, the better you can. To more often, I think your arguments are going to get better. And better in the sense of getting to a place of understanding. We're going to get to a place, it's easier to get to a place of understanding once you've paraphrased someone. And then also you can ask the same of them, right? Be like, hey, do you mind telling me what you heard? Right? So if somebody is saying something to you and it doesn't sound right, it doesn't sound like what you're saying, instead of telling them they got it wrong, ask them again. Be like, what do you think I meant by da-da-da-da? Explain it more. And they may just come back at you with another question. And if they do, answer it if you can. If you can't and you need more information, do your best. And it's so tough because of the amount of trolls out there, right? Like, when we start thinking about online conversations, I've had my fair share. And there's even a really deep end of this style of communication where you go past understanding and you go into mirroring, right? So now if somebody is being completely belligerent or accusatory or just absolutely not willing to listen to you, then you mirror the behavior in a sense of demonstrate how what they're doing prevents progress. Demonstrate how what they're doing prevents the actual change through conversation, right? They're derailing the entire conversation. They're presenting an argument they don't agree with, and that's one of the really tough ones. If you're one of those people out there that plays devil's advocate, like, really think about who you're advocating for there, right? Like, I get that there is a ton of theory that we need to explore, but when someone's declaring an experience to you and you're just trying to speak to something that's kind of like just goes against that experience or minimizes it in some way, like, it's just one of those ones that I try to lean more towards what I understand and believe than what I don't. And I think that's where, like, there's one last thing I wanted to really wrap this up with, and that is that for someone to change their mind, right? For you to change your mind, it takes an experience. It takes a moment where you can process information that you've heard and then apply it to what you're doing and see a result, right? It's practically a science, but at the same time, it's really not, because belief, feeling, and knowledge, all three of those things, they function the same way. We have feelings in relationship to an experience. We are able to cultivate feelings in relationship to past experience. We are able to develop knowledge based on a moment where someone, either authority or an experience that we've had repeated, allows us to believe something. So that we have that knowledge and belief. That's a deeper topic. But to really understand that for someone to change their mind, it requires an experience. That's what paraphrasing basically does. It gives someone the experience of what they're saying through your words. So they get to understand how you see what they're saying. And that's that's just one of the really big ones. It's a challenging concept, all in all, and it's something that, again, you need to be able to paraphrase from I feel, I think. It's not I think you're saying, it's or I'm hearing this, right? And when you say this, I'm saying this. Is like when I say blah 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 blah. Does that mean the same thing as what you're talking about, right? Try your best to use language that doesn't say that they're saying this, but you're asking, are you saying this? Asking a question versus telling someone an opinion it's so much more powerful. And when you meet people, and I'm gonna be honest, these people are commonly straight white men. They're going to tell you, I'm just saying my opinion. I'm just saying the truth. Or just saying my truth. And when they're saying that, there's a level of there's something that's been missed, right? In the conversation, somehow the idea that you're not saying your truth, or you're not saying your experience, that you're speaking like that somehow these two things are separated. It's just a failure to understand. And also there was one other thing I wanted to talk about in terms of like, if you do walk away from a conversation, I understand that there's this thing that happens where people, especially people who really like have an authoritarian approach to conversation, they're going to look at that as like, one, a sign of weakness, and two, you couldn't handle it. You walked away, and so then three, they win. And that is absolutely a failure of conversation. That is completely incorrect. If someone walks away from a conversation from you, it is not a win. It is a complete failure to develop an understanding. You have also not done this, right? If you're, that's a thing that like it's a thing that both people should be trying to work towards not having happen. And if you've gotten there, I'm not saying that there's something wrong in the sense of doing it. I'm saying there's something wrong in the sense of, no, wrong's wrong. Not quite accurate. It's more about you need to be reassessing. And that's what this whole conversation is about. When I talk about feelings, the first concept about feelings, the video of yesterday, it is a self-assessment conversation. You are taking the time to assess yourself and understanding that you can be wrong. And if you understand that you can be wrong and take the time to assess yourself, you can assess yourself in every step of the way, because someone's going to tell you you're wrong. And when you hear that, take a second. Even if you absolutely are 100% certain you are not wrong, take a moment and paraphrase, reflect what they're saying. And if you can get your opinion to be heard by paraphrasing back and forth what someone else is saying, I think, well, I think it's going to work out for you. Anyway, I hope this has been informative. It's been pretty ranty. I know I lost my track in there, but it's funny. I'm one of my goals is to start having interviews with people, and I have a bunch of people who have said yes, but dates are still the thing to line up. And these kind of conversations are much easier with someone right there. I get ranting in the way I understand these concepts, and I can only speak from the language path I have, or the language patterns I understand, and from those little templates, I know I'm gonna speak to the things that I think might be missing. But if you don't understand, you don't get to tell me right now, and then, you know, because of that, something might get missed or not talked to. But I hope you make a comment in the comments down below. I was happy to see the comments from before. I will, if some of this spoke to what you said before, or some of the comments down there, I mean, I hope it has. I'm also still going to go through and make comments. I want people to feel heard, and I want to speak to what was said. And I don't think I completely addressed what was there, because it's gone back and forth a little bit. So anyway, this is a little bit of an add-on to yesterday. What else I wanted to talk about was, if you're interested at all in video games, I do a Twitch channel. I play video games of all kinds of varieties. I play a lot of Overwatch right now because it's the game that kind of like, it has the best chance of developing community. I get to hang out with new players and talk to them about my channel, and that's been fun, and it's gone well. One of the things I will be doing is, after this video, I'm going to take like a few minutes, just kind of like put myself together and set up for doing another stream. I'll be streaming on Twitch, and I'll be doing a game in review. And these are games that are they're just not standard. They're not like a shooter game. They may maybe have some action, but I want these games to be far more story driven, or just very different. And the one I'm playing right now is called The Long Dark. excuse me, this is a game where you either play until you die or you play until you get bored, and it's just got that kind of thing, because it's the I think the old storyline on it used to say, what was it, this is someone's name, and then it would say, this is the story of how you died, because that's it. Like, you're playing until your resources run out and you can't manage it. You're in the Canadian Arctic or mountains, and it's there's been a giant or catastrophic event, and you're just walking around gathering stuff, trying not to walk into bears and moose and wolves and stuff like that. You got to do some hunting, and you can hunt the wolves, you can go fishing, and yeah, it's this real peaceful game. And anyway, I do the game and review an hour a day for until like I said, until either we die or we get bored. I think I'll play The Long Dark until tomorrow, maybe do a little longer run every Friday, and just have a little fun with that. But then I'll start a new game either Monday or on the weekend, and we'll let you know what those are. So yeah, if you're interested in gaming at all, please check out my Twitch channel. If you don't know about Robinhood and the things that we do and what our plan is with money, please take a look at the website down below. I have a whole thing on how I want to give money away, and it's not through YouTube. The place is not small. They don't want anything to do with it. It's a lot of work for them. But yeah, so if you're interested, please take a look at the website, and yeah, there's videos there, or there's a video there about what to do for registration and what the whole plan is. So yeah, that's today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it was informative. I'm trying not to sound too preachy. These are just things I think I posted it on Facebook, but I want to let you guys know, like, this isn't something that I know for certain. This is just something that when I practice it, I find I'm the most satisfied in my life, and I'm able to be the most honest with myself. And when I don't practice it, I've definitely had pretty much the worst arguments in my life and had the biggest regrets. And yeah, it's something that I've noticed I had lost touch with, and I've been recently really practicing again and trying to bring myself to attention to. And yeah, so yeah, I hope, I got all the hope, so much hope. Anyway, thanks for checking us out, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.